Hello, I'm Sophie and today we are looking at /PettyRevenge. In tonight's first story, a P makes someone have a mute Christmas. My parents weren't the nicest of people. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I can send a few examples if anyone asks for it. Well, obviously as a child I was hyped by Christmas. One Christmas in particular was special. 13 days before Christmas we decided to set up the tree. I was excited, because you only get to do that once a year. I was maybe 14 or 15 at the time, and I was quite a responsible child. Any normal person would see Christmas as a time of joy and happiness. My parents see it as a time to get angry at me for anything they can. You can't put an ornament there, or you put up the Christmas tree wrong, and stupid stuff like that. I was being on my best behavior according to their standards that day, and I made sure to do everything perfectly, which of course was all wrong to them. I was lightening the mood by cracking a few jokes and trying to make it a good time while we put up the Christmas tree. My mom, who is the queen of all Karens again. I can put some examples if anyone asks, said that I was talking too much and that, and I quote, Christmas is more Christmassy when you don't talk. I was gobsmacked at this woman. Then I had a plan. The only thing I said was YTHANK, as sarcastically as I could, which is out of my character, and I took an oath of silence for as long as I possibly could until Christmas was over. The whole day I went without talking. Then the next day, and the next day. Each day my mom got more and more furious. Finally, on Christmas Day, she had had enough and started screaming at me how you should address your parents with eyes mayhem and how I was being so disrespectful. The only words that came out of my mouth that day were, but it's more Christmassy when I do and talk. She never told me to be quiet again. In tonight's second story, a P proves someone wrong when they steal her stuff. On mobile, English is not my first language yet. I moved into an apartment where two friends of mine lived after we'd been talking about it for a year. I knew one more than the other, so I'm gonna name them RM1 and 2. I knew roommate one more since before, and he was the one trying his hardest to make sure I moved in. After I did, we started make pretty chill rules about how to make sure we could coexist. Big mistake. As time moved on, I started noticing stuff going missing: hygiene products, sodas, alcohol, snacks and food mainly. I asked RM2 about it. He said he was noticing the same thing and suspected RM1. We asked him about it. He denied doing anything like that, but we were not convinced. We both moved all snacks and our alcohol into our rooms. We caught him a few times taking food, sodas and snacks. His answer to that was that he didn't know it was ours and thought it was his, even though it was obviously ours since he didn't buy the stuff himself. The last straw was when I went and visited my parents over the weekend. I had one bottle of gin in our liquor cabinet that I had forgot to put in my room and a box of my favorite wine on the floor of my room, which I had planned to drink when I came home on Sunday. I get a text from RM2 that RM1 had invited some friends over and they were drinking wine and gin. When RM2 saw what they were drinking, he knew it was mine since only I bought the stuff. RM2: does Muppet Puppets know you're drinking his stuff? RM1: no, I didn't ask. RM2: you know he'll be really pissed, right? RM1: well, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. Loading. Even one of the friends he invited over questioned what he did, but RM1 just played it off as if I wouldn't care. I was real pissed. He had started to walk into our rooms to take our shit now. We had a stern talking to when I got home about how disrespectful that was. I now started locking my room and then went to a store and bought myself a label maker. Insert evil giggle. When I came home I started labeling YTHING that was mine: food, spices, cooking pills, snacks, sodas, alcohol, soaps, shampoos, conditioners, skincare products, deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush. For some reason he took an earlier one I had used and refused to admit he took it. Kinda nasty. When that was done, RM2 and I started to organize all the shelves in the kitchen and fridge to make sure it was super clear who had what. That just meant putting stuff we wasn't ours on a free shelf. For good measure I labeled the shelves with our names, even where whose towel was supposed to be. RM1 had no more excuses regarding who had what and where. He also had to ask every single time to borrow anything. He had to replace my alcohol as well, which he did. We had no more problems with things disappearing after that. And in tonight's third story, P tells someone to do their dishes. On mobile, English is not my first language, blah blah. A few years before the corona crisis, I went to live in Germany for 6 months to learn the language and do something different. While studying, I had the option to either live in something similar to a student apartment with a roommate, which was expensive and cramped, or move into a person's family's home and live with somebody in part less and get some language experience interacting with that person or family. I moved into an old and very sweet lady's house. She barely spoke anything but German, and an old version of it at that. I was still new to it and only spoke my native language and English. I was not the only student living there. A Spanish guy lived there too. He and I shared a kitchen and bathroom between us, and he was an utter and total slob, leaving dishes, food, packages of plastic and paper all over our small kitchen living room. Both are in the same room. We were supposed to share that room, but I barely got to spend any time in there when he was at home. He was extremely awkward towards me, never dared to talk with me, and if I didn't say hello or anything, he wouldn't talk to me for months at a time. But he was well and fine gaming on the only TV we could use, and was almost screaming to his friends on it while playing FIFA or something. So the little coffee table and chairs close to it was filled with crap and old dishes he never took care of, causing a nice stink and looking very nasty. The old lady had a rule where we had to clean regularly. I cleaned and did my dishes after me every time I was there, but when she came in and saw his mess, gave me crap for it too, even though I was mainly in my room or on the balcony. One evening I was homesick, and when that happens I tend to be up very late. I heard my slob of a roommate go to net and then crept downstairs. We didn't have a kitchen sink, so we had to do our dishes in the bathroom. I knew he usually took a shower in the mornings because he likes to hog the bathroom when others wanted to use it before going out. I took all of his dishes, plates, glasses, posts, pans. Some of them had been left untouched for over 2 weeks, and left it all in a nice pile in the sink. It pretty much covered it in all of the stuff he hadn't cleaned, and with the bathroom lights you could clearly see how dirty it all was. He would have to do all of them in the morning, skipping his shower to be able to use the sink at all. The dummy started being more active in cleaning up after himself after that. And in today's final story, someone is secretly decaf. I worked for a company with an owner who let her daughter get away with anything. The daughter was my manager, and she would shriek at me so loud you could hear it from the parking lot. That's not an exaggeration. People would come in and ask what Em was mad about because they heard her going off as they locked their cars. But she also made me get her coffee, venti sugar-free vanilla latte with soy milk. I'd go and ask the barista to make it decaf, but not market. They always made me a secret decaf for her.